let's go back to the beginning. When Evnroll was first being founded, before there was a name Evnroll probably or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were screwing around with grooves and that aha moment and what that was like when, for those that don't know, Evnroll technology basically helps control distance control and accuracy control for mishits on the putter. Okay, but it all started somewhere, and I think it's a really interesting fact of how it got started. So right now, I'd love for you to explain to everybody that kind of aha moment that you had with the Evnroll putter tech and how it came about.
Okay, so before the aha moment, there was the knowledge that I gained on tour years ago with my roll groove technology on the Rife putters, that when I would hand it to tour players, they would always turn around and say the ball didn't go as far as I thought it was going to go. I'm not getting it to the hole.
Yeah. And
that was just consistent. Every single person who tried it said it's just really soft. And so I knew over time people just hit it harder and they got used to it. Like any putters are different and they have different amounts of energy transfer or spring effect, whether it's polymer or solid milled face. And so I knew that the large groove space on the face and the small contact surface is the reason why the ball's not going as far.
Yeah.
It's less energy transfer.
Correct.
So the aha moment you're talking about is when I started seeing some of the industry start focusing on distance control off a putter face. And I said, well, I know what will really solve that problem. More contact surface where the putter's weaker, because off center is a mishit. And you don't have the center of mass directly behind the center of the ball's mass.
Yeah, so to explain that in driver terms, so when you mishit, let's say you're hitting your driver and you hit it off the toe or heel, to exaggerate it, it's
the
almost
smash factor.
Correct. So it's smash factor for putters is basically the same thing.
Or impact ratio is what we call it.
Correct. So when you mishit on a putter, smash factor goes down on the heel and toe.
Right.
This keeps smash factor more consistent. This keeps smash factor more consistent across the entire face. Would you agree?
Yes. Well, actually, it's, on the Quintec, since this is something that happened after I did after I did all the robot testing on the Quintec, which is a ball roll analysis system. I think it's the gold standard. It gives you the impact ratio numbers, which is the smash factor for putters, and it's usually about 1.7 on the center of a putter because it's more mass, so it's higher than a driver or iron or wood, and as you go about a half inch to up to about 3/4 of an inch off center, it drops about 5 to 7 or 8% less energy.
Yeah.
And so that number of 170 will drop down to say 158 on a Quintec machine. It's just a camera-based system that's checking everything out at very high speed.
It's a launch monitor for putters.
It's a launch monitor for putters, right? Exactly. So, but this is something I found out later.
Correct.
Okay.
So backing
what's
up to that
happening?
aha moment that I'm referring to, and I would love for you to kind of explain to people, if you haven't watched the robot video on the Evnroll site, it's one that we get emailed quite a bit. They think that we're crazy because this can't possibly be true. When you go watch the videos on Evnroll, there's robot testing to kind of show you.
It's live, not edited.
Correct. How this kind of keeps the ball distance control exactly the way you want, and directional control, it kind of redirects back towards the center.
Sure.
Okay. So your aha moment was actually when you had cut the first grooves and actually had the balls cross over. And that was kind of the aha moment that I remember, correct?
Well, what I was trying to achieve was getting him to go the same distance.
Correct.
By putting more contact surface away from the center progressively, so that the further you hit it off center, the more energy loss, so you had to replace more energy. So more contact surface away from the center, and the grooves got smaller and the contact surface got greater.
Yeah.
But in the middle, the grooves are really wide and they're very close together, so there's a lot less contact surface touching the ball. That's the basis of the technology. But when I first did this, sometimes you want to overprove the concept when you start out. And I had these big wide grooves in the middle, and they tapered real quick, and there was lots of contact surface real quick. And so what happened in my robot testing was, yes, the outside hits were going not only as far, we're going further than the center hits.
So think about that, just from a
that's
average
wow,
golfer,
that works. That's
average
cool.
golfer standpoint. If you actually miss hit the ball, which you would usually lose distance on your putt, this was going farther because it was transferring more energy on the miss hits than it was on center strikes. So you kind of knew you were onto something.
I knew I was onto something, but every invention, you get a gift. If you're in there just doing stuff, I had a gift because I didn't. The gift that came to me was that the balls crossed.
Correct.
Well, I didn't plan on that. I had no idea what was going on there. That wasn't like an invention. The aha moment was after I saw it and I figured out why. So that V shape was too wide, and so when you hit this V right here, the ball was going to the open area.
Correct.
Well, it was going too much. It was crossing over this. Instead of going away from the center, it was going past the center.
So it's Caddyshack for 2018.
The toe was pulling it too far, and the heel was pushing it too far. So by tightening that little V shape, this had less contact, less influence that way, and so it just took away that little movement away from the center. So I just had to remill a couple times until I found the right combination of taper of the grooves. So then the end result was the distance control was the same, and I had this little gift of having it redirect the ball slightly back towards the center. So the off-center movement away on mishits was corrected. It was just kind of redirected center. So everything ended up in the same spot.